Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. John Douillard, and welcome to LifeSpa.com, where we prove ancient medical wisdom with modern science. And today, I want to talk to you about an ancient technique called Jiva Prakshalana. And Jiva Prakshalana is a technique called tongue scraping, something that we all have heard about. Some people use a spoon. Traditionally, we use the tongue scraper, something like this. This is a copper tongue scraper. And I want to talk to you about the unique benefits of using copper versus stainless steel or other metals in just a second. But first, let's talk about the value of scraping your tongue and what does it do. Interestingly, when I dug into the science behind this, there was an amazing amount of science behind scraping your tongue. One thing that we do know from the Ayurvedic perspective, when you scrape your tongue, it actually increases particularly first thing in the morning when you first wake up, when you clean your tongue and drink a glass of water, that sort of turns on your digestive system. Scraping your tongue has a reflex action throughout the entire small and large intestine, tells everybody, hey, it's morning, we're cleaning, getting ready for food, things are happening, and usually that will help initiate that morning bowel movement. And in addition to that, scraping the tongue scrapes the taste buds, and the studies show that it increases our ability to taste better, which is really important. When I look at, in Ayurvedic medicine, we look at people's tongues and we determine the quality and texture of their tongue. Tells us a lot about the quality and texture of the skin in the upper digestive system, because it's all the same skin. And it was in the old days, you go to the doctor, you look at your tongue, and if it was really coated, you knew that they were probably sick. And that coating was all the way into the digestive process. Well, when people have a lot of intestinal irritation, and this is really problematic these days because of pesticides and insecticides on our foods that kill the bugs, that make the enzymes that allow us to digest really well, the harder to digest foods like wheat and dairy and nuts and seeds and beans and legumes. Those bugs, the enzymes that those bugs kill literally help us digest those harder to digest foods. So when we kill all the bugs that make the enzymes that help us digest hard to digest foods, no wonder we have difficulty digesting harder to digest foods, right? It makes sense. But tongue scraping actually changes the microbiology of your tongue. It preserves the good bugs, creates health and hygiene for your teeth and your gums. It also allows good bugs to proliferate and creates an environment where the bad bugs can't proliferate. It literally decreases the toxic load and reduces the bad bacteria in your intestinal tract. It also does something really amazing for bad breath, which are usually caused by volatile sulfur compounds, which are byproducts of not so wonderful, undesirable bugs. And tongue scraping reduces these VSCs, these volatile sulfur compounds that cause bad breath. So tongue scraping directly can help reduce bad breath by changing the microbiome. But what I think is really amazing is copper. What does copper do when you scrape your tongue? Copper is the only antiseptic metal, which means that they did studies and they took copper and they put copper plates on the walls in hospitals, and it literally dramatically, in study after study, reduced the bacterial load in the hospital room. Drinking out of a copper cup historically was what they did because it was antiseptic and it would preserve the water better. Scraping your mouth with a copper tongue, yes, for sure, is very antiseptic. And when you put it on back in your bathroom is loaded with bugs. This will not accumulate a lot of bacteria. Stainless steel can accumulate them for weeks on end. Bacteria can stick to the metal and stay there for weeks. This doesn't allow them to stick, which is really, really valuable to know. Also, it again reduces the bad bugs, increases and changes the environment of your mouth to support the health of good bugs. And also what I thought was really amazing was that it increases the enzymes in your mouth for us to digest and support the health of good bugs. So the copper, in addition to just generally tongue scraping with anything, is great, but tongue scraping with copper has such an added value. And particularly you want to be putting something that's been around your bathroom a lot in your sink, in your mouth the first thing in the morning. This is something that will be very, very antiseptic. There's also a bug called Streptococcus salivarius, which is naturally probiotic in our mouths. But a lot of people, when we eat all these pesticides and all these hard to digest foods that change the environment of our mouth, we lose a lot of those good bugs. Scraping your tongue. In addition to that, and there even are probiotics. We have a probiotic called Oral Defense, where you chew on it, and it actually is loaded with Streptococcus salivarius. And they found that people who have less of that have a more compromised immune system than people who have a full, stable of these really, really good bugs. So really important to support the health of your mouth. First thing in the morning, you wake up, you scrape your tongue. Drink a big glass of water. That triggers the whole digestive process. And of course, flossing and brushing your teeth in addition. And also in Ayurveda, we talk about swishing and oil pulling. And I'll talk to you about that in a Facebook Live, maybe next week or the week after. We'll talk about the benefits and the research on oil pulling and the magic of that particular ancient technique. But there's a whole host of Ayurvedic strategies specifically geared to keep the mouth healthy. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One of them is that the bugs in your mouth, if they're bad, bugs like Streptococcus mutans, they found them as plaque builders in your arteries and in your brain tissue. So your mouth is for sure your first line of defense for bad bacteria that are now linked to real degenerative concerns. We don't want to go down that road. So keeping your mouth healthy is critically important. And doing it with a copper tongue scraper, I think, is absolutely the way to go. Every morning works great. And we'll talk next week or the week after about oil pulling and give you the research about that. So stay tuned. Thanks for listening. I'm Dr. John Douillard.